How's it going, everybody? This is Radish Head back with some more Upland analysis. Today we're in Chicago, a city that I've said it before on the channel. I think it's undervalued right now. It's a tier 1 city and it is just not priced in the same way currently as the other tier 1 cities, being Manhattan and San Francisco. But I do think, I've been watching the trends, I think that's going to change, and it's going to change pretty soon. Maybe just a few weeks after the Nashville launch, I could see all of these unminted properties getting bought up, and therefore the Chicago floor is going to rise. Now, I don't have the data to hand in terms of the number of unminted properties in Chicago anymore. I used to get that from UPX World, but what I have been looking at is just having a scroll around Chicago, and that's where my Block Explorer currently is, because I've been buying properties in Chicago. I've been minting properties there. Anything under 5,000 I've been grabbing. But here's something. When Chicago first launched, it was a silly move really, but I was trying to mint this whole block here on North Honor Street. And I thought I had tons of time. And to be fair, at the start I did. Nobody was minting anything up in this neighborhood. What is it? North Center. That's it, North Center. So it's kind of in northeast Chicago. None of these were minted. It was completely empty. But now, things over the last few weeks, I've seen more and more of these spots being plugged in, especially the smaller, cheaper ones. And that's a trend that I'm seeing across the whole city. And I think that players in the know are aware that the floor is very likely to continue to rise in Chicago. Now, those of you who have joined the game a bit more recently might not appreciate the significance of Chicago being a tier 1 city. There's only 2 other tier 1 cities in the game. And now Upland is sort of moving away from the idea of tiers recently, but there's no denying that of all the cities that have been released so far, Chicago is like definitely well up there in terms of its international recognition, its position as a a financial global hub. It's a big, important American city. Like it's on a different level to a lot of these other cities. And I'd certainly say, I've always said, if I was a new person starting out today, if I didn't want to spend any money to get started off, I'd probably start in Kansas City, because there's lots of cheap FSAs there, and you might be able to fill out your collections quite cheap. But if I was willing to put a little bit of money into the game, I think I'd start in Chicago, because I think the longer term opportunities there are far better than any other city right now. Let me just pull up some data that I've been collecting on Chicago. So each day I've been pulling the data from the Upland Data Hub, and I've got a video on my channel where I've put a link in the description for this data source. But yeah, I've been collecting the data each day. I've been grouping it into neighborhood collections, and it's been super static for the week that I've been collecting it, to be honest. So this chart that you're looking at right now is the floor price for each collection, and then this top row here is the vanilla 0 collection floor. So it's stayed flat at about 4,500 floor. The price is in the standard collections have probably seen the biggest movement. So South Shore, Logan Square, West Town, they've increased by, well, that's about 10% increase in a week. So that's pretty good, to be honest. That's nothing to sneeze at. Anything aside from standard collections has been pretty flat. So You know, people aren't trading these more expensive properties too much, but I think that is about to change. And if you go one level below in the data, I feel like there's a story to tell. I'm going to scroll down here. This is the chart for the percentage markup for Chicago properties. This is just a week's worth of data, but there's been quite a lot of movement, and I think it is perhaps a harbinger of something to come, especially after Nashville. 21st, the vanilla collections at 85%. In just a week, that's gone up to 89.7, 90%. That is that's a major jump for 1 week, and that's above cities like Kansas City, New Orleans. They're not seeing 90% on their non-collection. So in terms of markup, people aren't letting these Chicago properties go for much less than, you know, the mint price, which is quite interesting. And again, the markups on these standard collections, they've gone up a lot since the 21st. Look at this. This is 20% markup. Floor. Okay, Logan Square's stayed flat. Okay, fine. Correction. South Shore has gone up quite dramatically since I started collecting it. But yeah. Now, the thing I was saying at the start, Chicago is a tier 1 city. Well, let's just compare this real quick. Let's pull this over to the left. And I've popped up San Francisco. I think San Francisco is the best comparison because Manhattan's kind of a unique case. You know, it's a much smaller city. It's more expensive mints. It just has that exclusive feel about it. Whereas San Francisco, I think, is a more direct comparison. Now, on the right here, we've got the sales in San Francisco table that I've just pulled from yesterday, and I've filtered it on UPX sales only, and I've put it on lowest price. So right now, the cheapest you can buy a property in San Francisco is about 23,000 UPIX. And look at the mint prices, 2,000, you know, 3,000. It's similar to Chicago, don't you think? I've got properties in Chicago that I bought for 2,080. Quite a few of them, 2,500, 3,000. The mint prices are very similar, and yet, look at this. The cheapest you can get it is 22,000. Now, I'm not saying that Chicago is going to reach 22,000 floor anytime soon, but it's only 4,500 at the moment, and there's a lot of properties, you know, still to mint. Now, what I am saying is, I have a feeling that all it's going to take is one whale with a few million UPIX to decide now's the time. Nashville's out the way. Chicago is the next place that I'm going to be buying up, and they're just going to mint like everything in Chicago. It's not going to take much, and that is when you're going to start seeing some explosive growth in that city. I believe it, and I don't see why in the near future Chicago can't up its floor to 9,000-10,000. I'm minting stuff there, and yeah, if you have a little bit of UPIX to spare, and you know, you're not saving it all for Nashville, I'd recommend giving it a look, because I mean, just looking at these, let's turn off. Let's have a look at the collections as well in San Francisco. Yeah, so Sunset in San Francisco, you know, it's a cheap collection as far as San Fran goes. So again, 25,000 markups, about 300%. So again, if we just compare this to the standard collections in Chicago, yeah, so that in, you know, the markups could be double what they are now. So yeah, again, that would result in a you know, a floor price of about 20,000. Sounds about right. I think that's absolutely realistic. I'm holding on to 11 Logan Square properties, and I'm not selling them, not at this price. I think Chicago has some ways to go, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. We'll revisit it in a week or two. Definitely going to be revisiting it after Nashville comes out, because I think there's a lot of upicks being held back until we have a bit more certainty on that. And I think all systems are go for Chicago after that launch. So keep an eye out for that. Please subscribe if you want to see similar videos to this in the future. And until next time, I'll see you then.